Hi, I'm Steve Adubato. Families deal, children deal with grief, with loss of loved ones. The question is, where do they go for help? We are pleased now to welcome Mary Robinson, Executive Director and founder of an organization called Imagine, a Center for Coping with Loss. Your organization is dedicated to exactly what I was just speaking about. Describe your organization, Mary.
Imagine is a free year-round grief support center for children and families coping with loss due to death or illness. We provide peer grief support groups for children aged 3 to 18, young adults 18 to 30, and the parents or guardians. And all the children we serve have had either a parent, brother or sister, or a grandparent if they were a primary caregiver who has died in their life. And we also have support programs for children who have a family member coping with a life-altering physical illness. So it's a community-based model. We are currently serving over 285 children and adults from 55 New Jersey towns every 2 weeks at our center. We're able to do that because we use trained volunteers from the community.
They're volunteers.
We train them. They're volunteer facilitators. So children in grief, grief isn't pathological. There's nothing that needs to be fixed. There's nothing wrong. What kids really need after experience a loss due to death of a parent or sibling is really a caring, functional adult in their life and a safe space, and to be with other kids, find out that they're not alone, be able to tell their story, share their feelings, share memories of the person who died, and really just get support. And that's why this community model is able to use volunteers who really are just caring adults in their life who listen, create that safe space in the peer support group, and help the children express themselves and tell their story.
Mary, you understand this from a very personal level.
Yes.
You had a loss at a very young age, 14?
Yes, I was 14 when my father died of cancer. So actually one of the reasons that we have a program for kids coping with a family member with illness is, I always say, grief starts at the moment of a diagnosis. When my dad was diagnosed with cancer in 1973, he died in 1974, I was in middle school, junior school, and I started skipping school. So it was just a reaction to the disruption, the fear, the worry, everything really changed when my dad got sick. You know, he looked different. He no longer was going to work. So grief starts at the moment of diagnosis. Families need support during the illness, but they also need, obviously, support after their parent or sibling dies. Back then, in 1974, when my dad died, there was nothing. There was not even awareness that kids needed support.
Where did you go for help?
Nowhere. We didn't get help.
Was it just you and your family?
My brother and myself. My brother was a sophomore at Madison High. I was a freshman. My mom
He's 15,
was a
you're 14.
Yep.
And you lose your dad.
We lose our dad. And one of the things I always say, the death of a parent especially is a traumatic loss for a child. When you think about it, a parent is a child's first love, their first psychological attachment, you know, that bonding that happens, the attachment, and it's who they depend on for their very survival. And it's the person they often would turn to during a terrible time. And they've just had a terrible time, the parent dies, and that person is gone that they would turn to. The remaining parent is going through their own grief, whether their spouse has died or a child has died, and less able to support that grieving child. My mom was so scared because stay-at-home mom, when my dad was diagnosed, he had just changed jobs. So we had no medical insurance. So we were wiped out financially. And my mom had to quickly figure out how to go to work, pay the bills, keep the house, take care of these two surly teenagers, I always say. But there was no emotional support. There was no, I thought I was the only one who didn't have a dad.
Mary, let's take a look. There's a clip that your organization has provided that talks about how one family representing countless families dealing with grief has been helped.
My favorite part about Imagine is probably just getting to hang out with everyone. Like, you get to know them. At first you're like, hi, but then pretty immediately you start to get really engaged with everybody.
What's it like for you and your colleagues to know that you are helping children, families, at this incredibly vulnerable, difficult, and painful time?
It's incredibly fulfilling for all of us. We see the profound difference the program makes in kids' lives. We actually see, even on their first night of support when a family comes in, you can see the change over the course of the evening. They come in and it's almost like there's a dark cloud over their heads. They look sad and scared. The end of the night, the kids come running out. They've made new friends. They're laughing. The parents feel such a sense of relief, like my kids are going to be okay. And the parents look lighter too. It's like there's a light now from they got support from the other parents.
Mary, just a couple things I want to get clear on. How prevalent is this?
They're currently in New Jersey, there's 109,000 bereaved children between the age of 0 to 18.
109,000?
109,000.
1 in 20?
Yes.
Georgette, help me on this. Some of the more specific services. Georgette, there's training. What do you mean for schools, houses of worship? What does that mean to train them?
So we go into, our whole goal is to create really grief-informed and trauma-informed communities.
Grief-informed?
Yes,
Translation.
grief-sensitive, meaning that when the adults who are in children's lives, the teachers, the coaches, they understand that when they're interacting with the children and they see their behavior change, to pay attention to what's going on behind the behavior, meaning something's happened in that child's life. So my brother and I went from two, good kids to all of a sudden just acting out and becoming completely different kids. Yeah. So I say we weren't bad kids, we were sad kids. So we teach the schools and the houses of worship and the agencies that work with kids to understand that when you see behavior change, to knock on the door of that child's heart, find out what's going on in their lives, what kind of loss has happened. And loss is made up of a lot of different things. So the education we do in the community is about all types of loss: death, divorce, separation, abandonment, parental incarceration, your sibling just diagnosed with a disability. So much loss. And the human experience is to grieve. And so one of the things we want to do is make it so that wherever a child turns in their life, they can get support from an adult, because they're not all going to end up at our center.
That's right.
With 109,000 kids. So we need to make sure the community can support them as well.
But before I let you go, Mary, a couple of things. First, I want to thank State Senator Thomas Kean, Jr., who actually has been on with us, particularly in our State of Affairs sister program, who told us about you and your organization. I know that he cares deeply, as do many others. All of your funding is private.
All private funding.
And you're opening up a new center, a new Imagine Center in Newark, New Jersey?
Yes, in the South Ward of
Newark. In the
South
Ward.
This fall. A city awash in grief with no grief support programs. So there's a huge need there.
Mary, thank you for all that you and your colleagues are doing every day to help those who are struggling and very often do not know where to go. And I know that our team has put up the website throughout this segment so people can reach out, find out how they can be helped, help, and make a difference. Thanks, Mary.
Thank you so much.
We'll be right back right after this.
The preceding program has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence. Funding for this edition of Caucus New Jersey has been provided by the Turrell Fund, the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, RWJ Barnabas Health, Delta Dental of New Jersey Resources, TD Bank, and by the Healthcare Foundation of New Jersey. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area. Caucus New Jersey has been produced in partnership with TriStar Studios.